reunited Indians help you to unleash your tremendous potential. Jai Hind, all of you. Today we will be discussing the syllabus of informatic practices for class 12th. Straight away coming to the mark distributions, you can see here the entire syllabus is divided into these 4 parts. The first is data handling using pandas and data visualization using matplotlib. This section carries 30 marks and it is the most important and requires a lot of practice. The second deals with database queries using MySQL. You have already done a lot of queries in class 11th. Apart from that, we will be learning how to use aggregate functions. Then the next section number 3 is of computer networks. It's a theoretical portion that will be carrying 7 marks, and the last but not the least, the social impacts, carrying 8 marks. Now let's have a brief description of the first section. You can see here we have to learn pandas here. So first of all, you have to be aware with these 2 libraries, pandas and matplotlib. Then basically in pandas we have to work on series and data frames. Then series, data frames and panels. These are the 3 structures which are covered in pandas, but as far as your syllabus is concerned, we will restrict ourselves to series and data frames. So you can see here the basic operations related with series or data frame. That is, you should know how to create series from ND array. If you remember NumPy arrays, they are known as ND arrays. Then from dictionaries, from scalar values, and then these 2 important functions, head function and tail function. As their name suggests, they are used to pick data either from the top or the beginning or from the, you can say, the bottom. Then moving on to data frames, you can see how can we create data frame. Data frames are basically 2D arrays, ordered arrays. So you can see here you have to learn how to create them from dictionaries. Then from you need to know how to convert a CSV file into data frame. Then certain operations, like you need to know how to add, how to select, delete, rename, and again coming back here to head and tail functions. Then indexing. Then again you can see the next Boolean indexing, joining, merging and concatenation, which plays a really important part and the most important part, which is generally very important as far as your practicals are concerned. So you should be having a clear idea how to import and export data between CSV files and data frames. So this is the first part, that is the basic part. Now let's move ahead to the next part, that is pandas 2. In this we will be learning how to use aggregate functions. Like you can see here, some functions are given here, sorting, group by, deleting. Then apart from that, you'll be having certain, you can say, analytical functions like maximum, minimum, count, sum, mean, median, mode. They are used in order to analyze the data. Then when we will be working with the pandas, then there would be certain datas or the missing values which are known as NaN. So you should be knowing how to drop those not available values, or like we have none data type in Python and null in MySQL. So we will be dealing how to handle them. Then again importing, exporting data between MySQL database and pandas, again very important part as far as your project work is related. Okay, then the next is data visualization. Generally these 2 pandas along with matplotlib, they are the 2 important components for data visualization. Nowadays you have heard a lot about data science, and these 2 tools are required. That's why CBSE have focused on these 2 tools. So in this we will be learning how can we plot certain diagrams using matplotlib methods. So you can see various type of graphs discussed here. So you should be knowing how to plot these graphs and use them. Then now straight away moving to the second unit, that is database query using SQL. So here they have paid more focus and attention to the functions. In SQL we have studied there are two type of function, a simple row function which is applicable on a single row, whereas aggregate functions. So the entire syllabus is revolving around these two factors. At the top you can see like this maths function, text functions and date functions. These are the simple functions which are applicable on individual rows. When we want to have cumulative functions, like you can see here in aggregate functions we have max, min, average, sum. Then we make use of aggregate functions. These functions are applicable not only a single row but multiple rows. Then grouping, whenever you have to group data on the basis of some common entities, we can use grouping. Then apart from that, you should know how to do union, intersection, Cartesian product and joining. These all terms you might have studied in mathematics during set theorem. Union, when a result from two or more queries are to be joined. Similarly, intersection, displaying the common part, and so on. Joining, which is very important whenever you have to pick data from more than one table or relations, then joining comes into picture. Now let's move to the theoretical part, that is computer network. This we are actually quite familiar with. We have been teaching you since your secondary classes, like type of networks, networking devices. You should have a fair idea how do they work. The networking topologies, then to internet, web, email, chat, VoIP, voice over IP, then some basics about website. What is a website, web page, how many different types of website, statics, dynamic, web server, and basics of hosting a website. Then certain configuration part of web browser is also discussed here. Then moving to the next part, that is the social impact. So they have discussed these topics so that you may be familiar with the various jargons of ITs, like digital footprints, then net and communication etiquettes, then data protection, IP are really very important. You should be familiar with them. Then plagiarism, you have studied in class 9th, and how licensing, copywriting are there to protect your rights. Then free and open sources, really they play a very important role, because in this community development is an important part of it. Then you should be familiar with cyber crimes and cyber laws in order to protect yourself and in order to prevent yourself from committing into any kind of cyber crime. Then hacking, phishing, cyberbullying, and even we should be familiar with our Indian IT Act. Then e-wastage, hazards and management. We should be able to know, like, these electronic devices, they need to be handled in a proper way so that they do not create you can say some hazards for our nature and doesn't create any health concern. So this is all about our syllabus. Then moving on to the project work, please keep in mind I want to focus all of your attention that it should be done of 2 to 3 students, and more importantly, please pay attention, students have to start their project at least 6 months before submission deadline. Generally, our practicals are conducted in the month of, you can say, January or December. So you have to mark its deadline to be December. So make sure if December you have to submit, you have to start on your project not later than July. Then moving ahead, practical marks carrying 30. You can see here there will be a question coming from pandas and matplot carrying 8 marks. Then there will be a table, and on the basis of the table queries would be asked. In your practical file, you have to make 20 programs. You have to write the programs and you have to even write its output. It can be either print out or it can be manually made. Then 5 programs should be based on matplotlib, that is graph related, and 20 SQL queries based on 1 or 2 tables. Then project work, you have to decide the project work with your teacher, guide and Viva carries, 5 marks. Then suggested practical list, you can run these programs and you can prepare your file with that, as they have asked 20. So here you can see a lot of programs are given. So with this we come to the end of this syllabus. Hope everything is clear to you and you can start your preparation in a more you can say better way by knowing how much time you have to devote to which section and which parts plays really very important part for your project work. I recommend you to complete Python and MySQL first, so that meanwhile we will be covering the theoretical part. You can start with your project work. With this, I wish you all a very good luck. Work hard and let's rock. Jai Hind, all of you.